this one, I don't know how long I'm going to go on this. We'll see. This is mostly live. It's in the background right now. So we're about an hour in. Might have to skip forward a little.
You could believe in a God.
They're still on evolution.
You have to show me in a closed and open system that
again, like I said, this is about the fear of death more than anything. Why are they against evolution? Of all the other things that you could be dealing with, why evolution? When evolution is something that can be tested. You can't test it like, well, actually, you can simulate it, test it, but I mean, you can't like evolve something over the years, but you can test the traces that were left.
From this it is. And you can't show no evolution without help or design. Even if you do it you can might be able to replicate it in the lab, but in the lab, it would take an intelligence to get it to replicate it. So you can.
But that's not evolution. Nobody is saying that there is an intelligence behind evolution. Because we don't know how life started. That's not part of evolution. It isn't the start. It's that what it started from changed.
You can't see that in a while. You can't see that other than microevolution. You can't. You don't see microevolution. You can't see macroevolution.
What's the difference? But the term species is just something that we make it out to be. If something changes to the point where it can't breed with something else, then there you go. It's a different species.
You can't replicate
and that's easy to replicate. All you need to do is hit something up with enough, well, it'd be cruel and unusual to do it. But if you hit something up with enough of the right radiation, it'll sterilize things. I don't know. Like I forgot what it was about. Like if you get too much radiation to your testicles or whatever, it'll sterilize you. There's ways to sterilize things through nature. If something becomes sterile, then it is changing to the point where it can't breed. Therefore, it's an extinct species, different from something else. By the way, we determine what species are. That's what it'd be based on.
Hey, pseudoscience.
Okay, let me respond. Let me respond to D-Red. Now, let's forget about an intelligent designer for it, because I think a lot of people fall into the trap of saying that if you believe in it, not saying D-Red, fall into the trap saying that if you believe in evolution, that means you like X out believing in a God. You could believe in a God and believe in evolution. There's nothing wrong with that. But remember though, everything falls into place, because it's just like Brother Sanchez just said that we come from Africa, right? I can claim that. Brother Sanchez, if I'm incorrect, just correct me. He said that, but Garfield, you could have an angle that we all come from Africa based on the out of Africa theory. But on the out of Africa theory, and evolution also falls into the same category, because I'm going to tell you why. You can't believe one without the other. Because remember, after a certain amount of sequences, remember your haplogroup changes. This is why you have haplogroup A, you have haplogroup B, you have C, D, X, Y, all these, and T, all these different groups because of sequences over thousands of years. The thing is, we're trying to fathom history and science by not understanding that we as humans barely can live over 100 years old. So when you think about 1,000 years old, you're like, what happened in 1,000 years? So when you look at different people have bridges on their noses because of where they live. You have to look at different things that happen to your face, how you look. If you look at an Asian man right now from that Asia era, if you want to call him Asiatic, there are certain facial features they might have that somebody who is in sub-Saharan Africa won't have. It's just certain things that happen over the years, depending on where you live.
Actually, hold on.
Now, I covered this part earlier. I'm just going through it again to start off. I don't really agree with Garfield in that sense that different facial features comes from complex or even not so complex environmental factors. I don't really think it goes really that deep into that. It's just people have always had different facial features because we come from creatures that have different faces. So I don't think that really argues well for
facial types and
evolution.
Physical changes are different.
But let me find. There's one part I
Actually
want to
can't get
respond to.
no information by looking at facial and person outer. We can't do it.
They got the Scientific American got an article saying it's speculation because what others can't.
Oh yeah, this is the part I wanted to bring up.
Still see these changes taking place.
And I might even
black people that's been living in Alaska for hundreds of thousands of years, and they nose haven't slimmed down because the air cold. Remember, that's how they said white people get the slim nose. So we gotta.
I agree with that. I don't think white people get slim nose from living in cold air or light skin from living in cold air. But there are environmental factors in the sense that having light skin would make it more difficult to be sexually selectable if you're in an environment that puts sores and stuff on light skin. So that's an environmental factor. It's not the defining factor. It's more like the regulating factor. So you can get up and walk away. You can go someplace cooler.
Do away with that kind of pseudoscience. That's speculation, looking at a natural phenomena being facial features different. That's what we know. That's a fact. But taking a fact, a natural phenomena, and then speculate on it to say, hey, I can tell you what was going on thousands of years ago because his nose slim and his nose fat. That's pseudoscience.
And
I actually agree with that. I don't think you can really draw much from nose shape and say this is the rate in which things change. There are much better indicators on the rate in which things mutate. Same with haplogroups. So I'll give the Abos a point over Garfield in that sense, but they go for a little bit too much. It starts to get dumb.
I like to say the reason why what he said is speculation because what authors can't and none of the Amarat squad never mention the competing theories as far as science. They don't ever talk about the multi-regional theory of evolution.
The multi-regional theory was proven false recently.
They don't even talk about the one that suggested everybody to get subscribe to the Scientific American. And it's a Scientific American, the rifle I already know I'm finna go to because I used to post it on what we used to be in the Facebook group battling. The Amarat Squad Facebook group. They got the Scientific American got an article. Is the Out of Africa theory out? And they started talking about the new finds that they found in Greece, in caves in Greece, and a femur bone they found in Spain that dispelled, that messed up the whole Out of Africa evolutionary timeline.
Now, I haven't seen this article. I've seen articles like this. Maybe I saw this one, but I don't know of any Homo sapien that is as old as what was found in Madagascar. And I mean, not Madagascar, in Morocco. And matter of fact, that was so old they aren't even sure if we're dealing with a Homo sapien. So then that rolls back to, all right, where are the oldest Homo sapiens? And they're not in Europe. They're all in Africa. We have not found older Homo sapiens outside of Africa. So what he's talking about is a title. It's basically the title is catchy. Ooh, out of Africa. You know, like, is it tested? But really, reality is once you get to the meat of the article, it's not saying that there's anything new found outside Africa. It's the same with Graciopithecus. Graciopithecus is like one hominid found in, forget where in Europe, but somewhere in Europe. But it's not the oldest hominid, it's one. So it's like you got all the hominids in Africa, maybe some in West Asia, and now you find one in Europe. And again, this predates humans. This is like the ancestor of humans. So, but it was put out there in the media like it was challenging out of Africa. And I've seen articles like this. This sounds like what he's talking about here, because the reality is out of Africa, well, I won't say out of Africa was proven, because somebody could step out of Africa in theory, mutate, and then come back in and say, now I'm a Homo sapien. It's the breadth, the multitude of early humans. That isn't challenged, number one. But the multi-regional theory was disproven altogether and recently, like at least in 2014. When DNA Tribes did their S&P analysis and showed that everything goes back to Africa. You see small amounts of Native American genes in Africa. You see a little bit larger amounts, but still small amounts of East Asian genes in Africa. You see stronger amounts of West Asian and European genes in Africa. Okay? But you go to like Northern Europe, you don't find Native American genes. You go to Western Europe, you don't find East Asian genes like that. They're further distance from that. And then like when I did a recent haplogroup map, where I tried to be more objective. And I said, you know what, if the older branches and the ancestor branches of a haplogroup are found in Africa, then I'm going to assume that it came from Africa and it just spread out strong once it went to a place that didn't have the genetic diversity to compete with. So, you know, like no man's land, you go someplace and there's only like a handful of people, your genetic mark is going to be stronger there than it was when you're coming from a place where there's a whole bunch of different types of people. And genetically, like I've said before, Africans are multiracial. If you're going to try to objectify race with genetics, good luck on that. But if you do that, we're talking about a place where genetically, like I've said before, Africans are the palm and four fingers of the hand, part of the wrist, where people outside of Africa is one finger. So I'm gonna keep letting it play, but
you can't just. I always say this: you gotta let the information speak and not have an agenda. You see what I'm saying?
He should take his own advice, because he could just look at that one article by DNA Tribes, which shows, and I could substantiate it with other stuff too. Because I've put this in Amon Ra Squad's Facebook group, that hey, you find all these Native American haplogroups in Africa now, right? You know, this ain't back migration. This is where they came from. This is a homeland. You know, I don't think X back migrated into Africa. That don't make any sense. It just doesn't fit a migration model, especially when you consider, a lot of people invaded Africa, but Africa was only gentrified on the very northern coast. Now the Nile is the exception, because you had missionaries going up and down the Nile, and it's easier to traverse. It's like an extended coast because it's water. But even then, you got places that are in the cut in Egypt where the people are closer to being what ancient Egyptians were, at least 2,500 years ago. So let me keep it going. That's where I'm stuttering. They shouldn't talk about it because the evidence has disproved it. It's not a competing theory. It's a competing theory to Sambos and White Daddy and handful of bigots. But when you listen to most scientists, when they talk about it, you'll hear them say, and I played quotes from it, where they'll say that genetically everything is an extension of Africa. It's a remix of genes that are already in Africa. That's how you determine race. It's not by, it's not a matter of people having something different. It's having a different combination of what already existed. You know, it's like when I've done videos and debates about phenotype as regards to skin color and stuff. That's why you see albinos in Africa that have freckles, pale skin that isn't that pale skin, that's kind of like they'll be an albino with green eyes, and they'll have the complexion of like Jasmine Guy. You know what I mean? Like they would still be considered dark skin among really white people. So it's there. It's all that stuff is there.
So when they try to tell you that a theory,
and this is what I mean. Like this is our 1 hour and 20 minutes.
So they never teach you.
D-Ray.
And it's still this nonsense.
No, it's scientific theory.
So I want to skip over. They go into this scientific fact and scientific theory.
Of the equation, anything is factual.
The issue with that is when we say, all right, Garfield, I'm willing to accept what you're saying, but I have more questions about it. And then we get down to the nitty gritty and the actual explanations of these things you're calling scientific theories and scientific facts, and it's better than a fact and all of this other shit. When we get down to the details of it, you always fall back on the general consensus. So while you bang on us about a state of belief, at the end of your arguments, you hit us with, well, we don't have the laboratory. You just sat right here and said it right now. We don't have the laboratories. We not in the field, brother. You hit us with general consensus. So, I mean, it just seems like a circular argument with you, and it seems contradictory for you to say that to us when at the end of your role, you're just in a state of belief as well. Can you respond to that?
Yeah, I'm actually going up the stairs. I'll respond to you in a second, brother. But let everybody speak, and I'll respond in order. Don't worry, I got you, brother.
I respond to the general consensus. If that's what I need to do, I'll do that for you, Garfield.
Go ahead, Unc.
Okay, let Unc get in, and then we'll pass it back around. We'll bounce it back and forth. Welcome to the show, Unc. Go ahead.
What's going on? I'm just saying the quote-unquote indigenous, or whatever y'all call belief, it don't fall in the realm of none of that. Not the general consensus, not the non-general consensus, no consensus. That's my problem with it. You know what I'm saying? Even if it fit outside the general consensus, then even that I might give y'all a break on that point right there. But it's not even that. Yeah, it's not even that. And that's what I'm worried about at this point. It's based off of a lot of old work that people was doing. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the elders in the community fell into that. That's the truth. You know what I'm saying? And so we just got to keep upgrading our information. You know what I mean? And this is shame. Y'all should be able to prove that the indigenous people of North America only come from North America. Y'all should be able to prove that. Like, we don't even know what is y'all beliefs at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know me. I'm a real black atheist.
I'm going to go and say mine now so you can debunk it right now if you don't like it. My belief is that no one really knows and don't really have the technology to say definitively where human origins come from.
Okay.
And that being the case, that what you saying, Sanchez,
Why you cutting him off though? Why are you so big to cut him off? Why can't he just finish saying what he's saying? See how we do it?
No, I don't think I was cutting the brother off. He made a statement and he actually.
And you're saying these are melanated people, and they existed pre-Columbus, and we melanated.
I'm just letting it play.
Yeah, we was here before
I'm letting it play. You can get this dialogue.
And we have a tie to this land just as much as anybody else. What's your argument, and why we get so much beef from y'all side with us just saying that? Well, you basically get a beef from me because I've never argued. Sanchez will cuss you out on that because he don't think the equator goes around the planet. You know what I'm saying?
We're not talking about flat Earth.
Sanchez will fight you on that. He right on track.
Let me go on here and say this and pass y'all the mic.
How can Sanchez be on par with that? Because anybody that's near the equator is going to have brown skin, and the equator is not. It goes around the planet. We're not talking flat Earth right now. All right, so let's just keep. I know. Listen. I'm saying.
Yeah, I can't accept no equator. If you're gonna say equator, that's gonna lead to something else, man.
We got two flat earthers, so it's not just Sanchez. This fool's talking about I can't accept no equator. If you gonna say equator. I don't know what they talking about. Do you? I really no good points made. Like no evidence put forward. Just muddy up everything and get into the philosophies instead of saying, hey, look, we have proof. And that's one of my issues. I'm like, hey, I don't need to believe anything. I can show you. Now, after that, you can just say, hey, everything comes down to a belief as far as your ability to analyze data, who could be right, who could be wrong. But we're all analyzing data, pretty much the same foothold. And it just becomes a question of, what do you go forward with? What do you teach in the church? Because to me, I'm assuming we're really going to get to some type of progress and reform the broken religious institutions. That we're not going, this isn't just about whether or not people came from Africa or America. Now, but here's the thing. The more I listen to this, and this is the second time I've listened to this, the more I'm seeing what I caught from Dane Calloway. You know, if he's an agent or supported by the Russian government, and I won't even say that he's supported by it. It's just that type of propaganda, that dupe the Negro, they're easy to fool type of propaganda, there's a breed of men, more so than women. I can't really point this on the black woman. I don't really see that many of them that do it. But there is a breed of black men that will hear the miseducation coming from the albino and spin it. And in the process, the thing they're looking for, and they don't really have to look hard to find it, is something that exploits the fear of death. That's why this is going against evolution, which is, and that's why they're going against out of Africa. So their sources are basic Eurocentrism. I won't even say that, because I've heard people that are Eurocentrics break it down, the whole out of Africa thing, the same way I'm doing it. And I would still say that they are largely Eurocentric in the sense that they're probably Catholic or whatever. I mean, they're culturally speaking a European language, closer to a European philosophy, political philosophy. But the evidence is so strong when it comes to the out of Africa theory. It's so strong that as xenophobic as Europeans are, they come out and say it as the consensus. That's a pretty strong consensus when you're dealing with people who are that xenophobic. So this whole diatribe about you're appealing to the census, Garfield. You're still, consensus, Garfield. If that consensus was something that would be clouded by race bias, culture bias, and all that, then that appeal, the passion behind it, the flowery speech would make more sense. Wouldn't it? But it's the other way around. Look, anybody that studies genetics, especially someone who's melanated that studies genetics, they know this. They know that there's a whole bunch of blogs, there's a whole bunch of pseudoscientists that will latch onto anything that goes against the out of Africa theory and promote it like it's more than what it really is. Meanwhile, the majority will not only just come out and just say it, that this is what's going down, that everybody is genetically African, because I could just, oh man. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me see, where are we? I'm going to do up to 145. We're at 130. So I'm going to do up to 145. And then next week, I'm going to do a video on the weekend, next weekend. I'm going to do a video where I show my 5 ancestry tests and I show just how much of a slam dunk, because of the evidence behind it, that out of Africa theory is. Okay, so we're going to finish this up. And I don't know, I might not even jump in.
Okay, let's do this. Let's stay on one point. For right now, let as brothers, let's stay on this one point. Why does people why are those things depicted with people having clearly melanated skin? What is the reason? Let's go down the line. I'll go last.
Bro, listen, because they melanated people just like us, and we're saying that they are us. They were why? Okay, why? You mean why? No, we're not talking why. Because now you're trying to drag it to a different conversation. We want to. I'm trying to. Because you just said you don't understand the grid. Now we're trying to agree.
You say you agree that melanated people were free Columbus, right?
And I say, okay, I agree.
Next step.
How was that? Now the question is, how?
Why? How were they here? What do you mean, how were they here?
How is that possible? Why?
Okay, so
The issue is y'all bang on up.
Why don't they have male skin?
What?
Yeah, why don't they have male skin?
Excuse me.
Okay, let's stop right here. Because you gonna help the Aboriginal community out right now tonight. You gonna help.
I want to do that, bro. I'm not against the Aboriginal community.
Right.
I'm against foolery and the lies that people do.
Right.
Answer this question. Hold on. Let me deal with this, man. Hold on, because I just want this on the record from Brother Melanated people were in the Americas pre-Columbus, correct?
Yes.
Okay, you got no argument with that. Now, the Aboriginal community is saying that melanated people were here pre-Columbus, and we did not all come from Africa. Can you prove that we did all come from Africa? And if not, why do you have a beef with us saying we've been here?
Hold on.
he's asking, hold on, wait a minute.
Hold on, Garfield. Let him speak.
You can't cut everyone with me.
You last now, brother.
Yeah.
See, this is one of the reasons the Amon Ra squad uses haplogroups as much, because they're basically saying we're not related to them. And that's true, though you kind of got to tighten that up a little bit, because we are related to them. They're just more distant than anybody else. And when I say that, I'm just talking about, if you extract the recent African, you extract the West African, and you extract the European from American genetics, and anything that isn't lumping with strong with American, if you take that out, what you're left with genetically are people who are very different, are more distant from Africans than damn near anybody else. So I get why they go to haplogroups.
So the first point is, we all agree that melanated people was here before Columbus. Right? So that should never come up in conversations again. We all agree to that. Am I correct?
Agree to what?
We all agree that melanated people, right? Although white people have melanin too, right? But melanated people, we talking about the brown color, right? Was here first, and I agree to that. I'm sure God will agree to that, and I think
Maybe even black.
Correct.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures of some black ass Native Americans. So
now, here's where the problem comes at. Y'all, some of y'all say that some do come from Africa, and some say that y'all don't. And I'm saying, with a claim like that they don't come from Africa, right? That's the extraordinary claim that everybody on Earth don't come from Africa. So now what I'm saying is, where do they come from then? That's all I'm asking for.
Okay, and the simple answer.
All right, no, you can go first. Go ahead.
Go down the line.
All right, I didn't mean to cut in like that. That's what I couldn't mean. But the simple answer from our side, which I encourage most people to say, is we don't know. We don't have the answer to a human origin.
That's not fair.
We don't have the answer.
I know. So I know. I knowing is just basically having knowledge of, and I have knowledge of human population genetics, and the people that are most isolated, like I said, when you screen and you take out this and that, are Native Americans. Like they're the people, they're on the tips of the family tree. The people that are at the roots of the family tree are Africans. And nobody really can get around that unless they go on to the next conspiracy. Because remember, in the first hour, the first conspiracy was carbon dating. Now DNA has to be a conspiracy, because you have to completely throw out DNA.
Human origins. But you guys claim to have the answer.
Hold on. Wait, I'm right here.
That's no answer.
I got you. Y'all don't know.
That's 100% truth from our side. And you can't solve the liar. But we
No,
now
no,
have the ability to speak you with the answers, right? You breaking up, so I'm gonna slow down.
no, you said you don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right, that's cool.
Okay, but you said you do. And so now we have the issue with you. And it's easy for everyone else because, I mean, like I said earlier, even though you're on the phone not listening, but the family will catch these Jews. Like I said earlier.
No, hold on, bro. Let's stop for a minute. No, listen to me. Y'all said y'all don't know, right? So if you don't know, then why?
Oh, look, he said he didn't know. The rest of us, we still waiting to speak. Go
Right.
ahead, go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. He don't.
Correct.
I thought that for all y'all. All right, but go ahead.
Well, no, I speak for me. Everybody got a voice. And like I just said, we all don't agree.
We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So far,
All this evidence of people coming from Africa. That's why I'm going to do that video next week. And these Sambos are saying they don't know. We don't know. That's my answer. We don't know.
out of 10 people, we got 1 who
That's
don't know.
pitiful.
And you Aboriginal too, right?
Yeah, I'm Aboriginal, Jay.
Why have everybody fall off the panel, yo?
Just be like that. Probably you, man, because you up here buck dancing so much, you shaking it. No.
They'll pop back on and do that sometime. There they go.
Fuck out.
Hey, Unc, man, hey, that's another thing too, Unc, man. Your ass, hey, you don't show no love when you doing your lectures, bro. Y'all disrespectful as hell. Hey, go ahead, though, man. It's cool. Go ahead, man.
I ain't buck dancing, man. I'm probably the oldest person on this damn panel. I done did all the shit y'all done did already. Shit, we can help each other out. I think if we just have I like Sanchez's demeanor though. I do.
Damn, you don't fuck with me? Come on, man. You know we.
I ain't figured out.
I told Sanchez that earlier too.
This
Sanchez gonna learn
Aboriginal power.
Aboriginal power. See, the difference is I'm willing to learn something from y'all. Y'all just not willing to learn from me. And that's probably a mistake. Because I done did the same shit y'all done did. I mean, I went down that road already. So I'm saying is I don't think y'all crazy and out of control. I don't think that. Right? I think we go, like a real down to earth brother to brother conversation. So we just shooting at each other all over the place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I really think that. So I think if we just got to figure out what method do we want to use to prove, the size of the argument. Are we going to use archaeology? You know what I'm saying? Are we going to think that humans was here for, somebody told me the other day that we was here for 300 billion years. What scope we going to fall in? We need to know that, yo.
Right. I understand that, but you got different claims coming from different people. Like one might throw out, well, we got the oldest pyramids. One might throw out, we got more. One might throw out, we got the largest. And then you got different claims that lead up to a singular point. So it's just about and moving on what we got. With the evidence that's brought forward. Like we did before. I told you about the pyramid. You said something about Giza having the largest one. I brought up one. You looked it up. You admitted to it, and we moved on. That's the way.
Huh? I'm not even gonna respond to that.
Need to be done. You see?
Yeah.
I mean, that should be simple. There's all this evidence and you just ignoring it.
Yeah, but it don't be the same. It don't be the fairness in that. It don't be the 3-ton stones. It don't be the fairness.
I got a question. I got a question for the whole panel. Obviously,
it ain't no just one plot. It take a little bit more science to do this stuff.
We need to get back on the skin though for a minute though. Remember we was stuck right there. Remember that?
The skin.
I want
to get the skin right.
I wanted to. Okay, go ahead. My bad. Y'all can pick up where you left off. I hold my question.
Why they skin that color? Does anybody know on the panel?
The skin of the people depicted?
Yeah, why? So now,
I know you read that book, Skin, but it's sort of deceptive, man. Don't keep staying on skin color, because that's something that, if anything, is holding you back. You ought to be hitting them with DNA right now. Get them on the record that it's all hoax. Because whether or not people are dark skinned, look, it's albinism. That you're not gonna that anything is gonna hurt your case. Because you got a new race of albinos forming in Panama, I think, or Peru. Actually, I think it's Panama.
I think they lying. I think they was that color. But there's a reason why they skin that color.
Bro, you're trying to turn this into
an equatorial argument.
That's not why people are brown on Earth.
See what y'all doing right now, right? I'm saying why?
Why would people depict themselves as brown?
Why would people have pale skin, and then why the hell would people have dark skin and brown skin? I mean, y'all should know the real fucking with
You're trying to make it a globe earth argument.
Ak is not trying to make it a globe earth argument. That's how crazy it is. Ak, to me, is going for a weak conspiracy on their part. And actually, they might even be right when it comes to skin color, that it's more random and like environment is just basically a check on you can't be too white over here. That might just be what's going on. This is crazy.